Welcome back everyone. In this video, let's take a look at deposits formed during differentiation of a silicate melt. I'll be analyzing this category of deposits by taking an example of chromite ores. In this video lecture, I will first briefly introduce you to the geochemistry of chromium, and then I will talk about the nature and types of the chromite deposits. And finally, I will walk you through the genesis of the chromite deposits. Chromium is a lithophile element and is compatible in both spinel and clinopyroxene relative to ultramafic and mafic melts in the mantle. It is therefore largely retained in the mantle during partial melting and occurs in remarkable lower concentrations in average crust, where it will be on an average 100 ppm, while in mantle it shoots up to 1 weight%. Within the crust, ultramafic layers of large mafic ultramafic igneous bodies typically have the highest concentrations of chromium. The spinel mineral chromite is the only ore mineral of chromium. It contains up to 55% chromium oxide and is an accessory or minor mineral in most ultramafic rocks. For a deposit to be classified as economical, it should contain 30% or more chromium. The economics of the chromite ore will be discussed in a separate episode which will be uploaded shortly. Two important types of chromite deposits are recognized on the basis of ore body form and their geological environment. Stratiform chromite deposits in large layered ultramafic intrusions and podiform chromite ores in ophiolites. In the stratiform chromite deposits, the ore body occurs within the cumulate sequences as thin stratiform chromite-rich rocks or chromium seams between tens of centimeters to about 1 meter thick, parallel to the igneous layering. The layers are usually continuous over kilometers of strike length and are locally branched or are offset by structures resembling faults. The contact between the chromite layers and the cumulate rocks are sharp. Chromite ore bodies in ophiolites are typically relatively complex pipe-like to podiform shaped bodies of chromitite or chromite-rich dunite with greater than 25% chromite intergrown with olivine or with serpentine. They are mostly small deposits with a few kilograms to a few million tons, often in clusters which are mined in one operation. Moving on to the genesis of chromite ores, processes such as crystal settling, convective fluid flow, and diffusion related chemical segregation across density stratified layers were considered responsible for the formation of the stratiform deposits earlier. However, these processes failed to explain the monomineralic layers of chromite or magnetite so spectacularly developed in many layered mafic intrusions around the world. They also failed to explain the formation of the massive pods of chromitite that occur in ophiolites. When it comes to the formation of the monomineralic layers of chromites that are sandwiched between the ultramafic rock layers, one can simply imagine that within the magma chamber, when the chromites are being crystallized, the normal silicate crystallization, which is usually dominated by olivine plagioclase pyroxene formation, is usually switched off. This facilitates the formation of a single oxide phase all along the liquidus. To understand this further, let us consider the phase diagram of basaltic system in which only the olivine chromite silica end members are portrayed in a ternary plot. The normal crystallization sequence in a basaltic magma with starting composition at A would commence with olivine as the only mineral on the liquidus. Considerable olivine crystal settling will result in the formation of dunitic cumulate rock. Extraction of olivine to form dunites would result in the evolution of magma composition from A towards the cotectic phase boundary at B. At B, a small amount of chromite, say around 1%, would also start to crystallize together with olivine, and the magma composition would then evolve along the cotectic towards C. At C, the SiO2 content of the magma is increased to a level where olivine and chromite can no longer be the stable liquidus assemblage, and orthopyroxene starts to crystallize to form a bronzitite cumulate rock. From this stage, magma composition evolves towards D. Continued fractional crystallization will eventually lead to the appearance of plagioclase together with orthoperoxene on the liquidus, which is not shown in this figure due to projection constraints. As you can see, this crystallization sequence cannot lead to the formation of a chromite seam, and the chromite mineral would only occur as an accessory phase in the early form cumulates. So what makes an ore deposit? It seems like something unusual or something different from the norm needs to take place. Normal crystallization sequence needs to be disturbed, and one way to do this is to introduce at point D a new magma with a composition E, which will be injected into the chamber and allowed to mix with the evolved liquid at F. Mingling of the two liquids represented by D and E would result in a mixture whose composition must lie somewhere along the mixing line DE. Exactly where it lies depends upon the relative proportions of D and E that are mixed together. For most mixtures, for example, at point F, the magma composition would lie within the stability field of chromite, and for a brief interval of crystallization, say for example from F to G, only chromite would crystallize from that mixture. Being relatively dense, chromite would settle fairly efficiently and a single near monomineralic layer of chromite would form. Once the magma composition reaches point G on the cotectic, crystallization will again be dominated by silicate minerals such as olivine, and the rocks that forms in the hanging wall of the chromite seam will again contain only accessory amounts of chromite. And another way of forcing the magma composition into the chromite field is shown in this figure, where the magma at point E, or perhaps anywhere along the cotectic for that matter, becomes contaminated with siliceous material, perhaps by assimilation of crustal material, forming either the floor or the roof of the magma chamber. The contaminated magma will then have a composition that lies somewhere along the mixing line joining E to the SiO2 apex of the ternary diagram. As you can see, this composition could also lie transiently in the chromite field and result in the formation of a monomineralic accumulate layer of chromite between H and G. This shows that how important contamination of magma can be to igneous ore forming processes. Further, let us also take a look into the mechanisms that leads to the formation of podiform chromatites. The sites of podiform chromite mineralization represent zones in the oceanic lithosphere where low viscosity olivine normative melt mingled with a more siliceous higher viscosity magma. These two different or the contrasting viscous melt fractions remain segregated at least for the time it takes to accumulate chromatite ore. For thermodynamic reasons, chromite nucleates preferentially in the ultramafic melt globules, with crystals forming initially along the metastable liquid interface and progressively throughout the globule. Diffusion of chromium from the siliceous magma where no chromite nucleation has occurred across the liquid interface into the ultramafic melt globules also takes place, resulting in the globules getting completely replaced by chromatite. Because the siliceous magma acts as a chromium reservoir, the richest ores are considered to occur where the volume of the latter is high relative to that of the ultramafic globules within which accumulation of chromatite is occurring. Magmatic ore deposits is a very interesting topic to pursue one's research in. More interesting theories and hypotheses can be constructed if one has tremendous zeal to take up his research career in the genesis of magmatic ore deposits. I hope that you got some fundamental understanding of the genetic aspects of the deposits formed due to differentiation of a silicate melt. If you have any questions or queries on the topic, please mention them in the comment box below. I'll be back with another episode of magmatic ore deposits dealing with immiscible melt phases shortly. Stay tuned to my channel, and if you are not subscribed already, do it now. Have a nice day. Bye bye.